This is the Cool I See, and I'm going to take a few moments, about 5 minutes, to address the fall of man. It's just a theory. The fall of man being homosexuality. The fall of man being homosexuality. And I don't want to be too religious with it. But a lot of people say it's about Adam and Steve, not Adam and Eve. So, if my theory as a social scientist has any possibility of being true, then my hypothesis has to be rooted in some kind of either experience or the experiment of ideas which can prove to have validity. So, I'm going to expound for about 5 minutes or so, 5 or 10 minutes on what I think. I'm going to try to be as concise and be as pertinent to the theory that I'm posing to mankind in a free society called America. The fall of man. Is it or is it not homosexuality? What was man before man was immortal? The Bible teaches, and God said, let us make man in our image. And before that, the Bible tells you that the Spirit of the Lord, or the Spirit of God, hovered above the earth, or the surface of the deep, or the waters. But man was spirit before man was mortal. Man was spirit. And when man was spirit, man had a direct relationship with God that man may or may not remember, because spirit knows. Spirit does not have any questions nor any longings or yearnings that man seemed to have because of the fall of man. So, if the fall of man is homosexuality, and God said, let us make man in our image, then we wanted man to become more spiritual as opposed to physical. So man possibly was then endowed with what came to be later called soul, or the soul. And the soul being a correction of some sort has to do with procreation on earth. Reincarnation, transmigration, this is all coming from the same concept of procreating, redoing something so that it could be better in the future. See, let us make man in our image. From the past to the future, let man evolve or progress. Now, man being an intelligent being with high intellect can remember spirit. Man can remember spirit. Therefore, when man remembers spirit, and it also is posed with the question, what is the soul? See, this is where man has his fall, because man has to experience something within himself. He has to experience something happened. And whatever happened, it's internal with man. So therefore, man became one thing before there was the fall of man, called homosexuality. Man became anti-procreation. Anti-procreation was one of the thoughts that man accepted internally, meaning that man did not want to bring other beings into this place because it felt something internally. And I believe that what man felt internally was possibly what's now called guilt or regret, but some kind of sense of self-rejection that man actually needed anything. It actually needed to return to spirit, and that's a little bit unbearable if you have high intellect, that you need something. You need it. You need another idea to be complete. So, by becoming anti-procreation, that was not good enough. So man was told, don't eat a certain tree in the garden, a certain tree, the tree of good and evil. Some people might call it the pig, the swine, the pig. Do not eat the pig. You eat that pig, you know good and evil. You eat that pig, it comes with evil thoughts. You eat that swine, that pork. You see, when man ate the pig, which the pig has no purification system whatsoever, this is how the devil tricked man when man ate the pig. The pig cannot purify itself. It just eats. That's a lack of procreation. It does not have health. It does not have purity. It is not part of holiness. And when man digested and ingested this swine, it was fed with something on the inside that it could never ever deal with, called loneliness. Loneliness, because it knew that God did not want man to eat that pig. So how does anti-procreation and anti-purification coincide with homosexuality? When you say anti, there's another phrase called up the ante. When a man takes his penis and puts it up the ante of another man, this is anti-procreation and anti-purification. Man does have a purification system. It's the penis and the defecation process that comes out of the anus. But when man takes his penis and puts it in the anus, it's anti-procreation and anti-purification at the same time. It comes from eating the pig. It's a self-deception for man to try to cope with its guilt and its regret and its rejection. And so it craves for an idea. That idea that it's craving for, it's called God. God isn't an idea. God is an idea, and man is craving God. God is love. And so man is trying to deal with how to get love, but it's trying to get love through the wrong channels now. It's trying to use sex as a self-deception for love. Why? Because it wants intimacy. That intimacy that spirit has with God. Man wants that intimacy, but it is trying to do it through a soul, and a soul means that you're trying to learn something, but spirit does not have to learn anything. It already knows. And so when man's yearning for intimacy began to seek for love through the body and not through the mind, it began to seek for love through the body and not through the channel of the soul, which is within the heart, and the heart being the place that retains the feeling of love. For there is light in the heart, and God is light, and God is love, and God is spirit. Man sought affection in the wrong ways, and it was homosexuality that became the device that the devil tricked man into believing that it could somehow experience intimacy and deal with its self-deception of guilt and regret and rejection that came from the loneliness of disobeying God. When it ate that pig, it disobeyed God. And it was so backwards that it could not get out what it put in. It digested and ingested the pig. And that pig fed it those thoughts of anti-purification and anti-procreation, meaning that it was against the ideas of purity and holiness. If you're yearning for purity and holiness, you will not have homosexuality. If your goal is purity and holiness, you will not have the fall of man. You would have ascension to God. And so that's my theory. I'm sure I'm gonna be disagreed with because I didn't put enough evidence or enough facts or enough Bible verses or enough data or enough statistics or enough I didn't put enough words to persuade somebody like for an hour. But I told you an honest opinion, and the whole entire American system is built upon playing with buttholes, booty holes, and assholes, and being misled by the devil, because the devil was the first faggot